Namaste. A very warm welcome to everyone to the Vedic Astrology Masterclass series. I'm Miss Jyoti and I'll be your host for this session. Today's masterclass will be given by Miss Lalitha Donatella Ribak. She will be teaching about DNA astrology based on karma and nakshatra. Before we continue, I would like to take a minute to share a few hygiene points. The class will be for about 50 minutes, post which the Q&A session will start. Any questions that you would like to ask can be typed in the comment section. The technical team will relay the questions for the speaker to answer them. Before I hand it over to Ms. Lalitha Donatella Ribak, I would like to take a minute to give you a brief introduction of our foundation. The Raman and Rajeshwari Research Foundation was founded by Dr. B.V. Raman and his son Sri Niranjan Babu in 1983. The foundation is non-profit, endeavoring to revive, rejuvenate, and promote the study of Vedic astrology, Vastu, Yoga, Ayurveda, Vedanta, and other related Indian sciences. Under the leadership of its current chairman, Sri Niranjan Babu, the foundation has emerged as a pioneer in the advancement and digitization of Vedic astrology. It has developed and distributed free astrological software, digitized astrological content, and undertaken path-breaking research in Vedic astrology, including use of artificial intelligence, big data, spatial analysis, etc., and making it accessible to the astrological world. The foundation has also funded and supported various Vedic activities like building temples, sponsoring Vedic marriages, etc. The foundation has established a fund to honor pioneers in the field of Vedic astrology. The eminent list of scholars who have received recognition by the foundation include Dr. David Frawley, Dr. T.S. Vasan, Dr. Bill Levesey, Dr. Arlu Mallige Parthasarathi, Swami Sitaramananda, Swami Sukhbodhananda, and Sri D.N. Munikrishna, to name a few. Till date, the foundation has organized over 100 events, including conferences, lectures, seminars, and workshops, and has received tremendous support from the press and the public alike. If you would like to stay informed about the activities of the foundation, we encourage you to visit our website www.rrrf.in or join our Telegram channel. Now, I take the pleasure of introducing today's teacher. Lalitha Donatella Ribak is a licensed life coach, spiritual teacher, Vedic astrologer, Ayurveda expert, and author. She holds an advanced degree in Vedic astrology and is a regular contributor to the astrological magazine founded by legendary Dr. B.V. Raman and other publications and websites. Lalitha has been practicing Vedic astrology professionally for past 7 years. She is the author of a book, Bliss Lab: How the Ancient Yogis Acquired Supernormal Powers and How You Can Too. It's rated number one on Amazon New Releases in Eastern Astrology and number two in Astrology category. She helps people grow their wealth and fix their relationships so they can experience their best life. Lalita is also an Ayurveda consultant with a great passion for ancient Indian medicine and the Tamil Siddha tradition. Before we begin the session, kindly note again that any questions that you might have for our teacher today can be typed and posted in the comment section. At the end of the session, the speaker will answer them one by one. We will now begin the masterclass on DNA astrology based on karma and nakshatra. Dear Miss Lalita Donatella Ribak, over to you.
G. I'm very honored to be here, and I'd like to thank the Rama and Rajeshwari Foundation and Sri Niranjan Babuji and his family. Rama has been very kind and helpful. I've had the honor also of writing for the astrological magazine, the magazine, for the last, I think, 4 years. So I've been practicing Vedic astrology for 11 years, but it's an ocean, And I am very much a purist, so I like to say that because this new technique I'm going to talk about, this new system, is called DNA astrology. So I really follow Vedic astrology in its classical sense. I follow the classics of Vedic astrology, etc. And I don't like to create my own techniques, etc. But I found a lot of value in this new system. And I apologize because my PowerPoint presentation did not open. I was not able to share it. So I have Girish from the technical team who's going to help if he is able to download the file. So please bear with me as I will have to explain everything from my slides, but I'll just give you an overview of what DNA astrology means and why it's relevant, I believe, at this time in this time as I believe we are transitioning into a better yuga, which will take some time, but we're in a transition and now we have all these interaction of forces. We see the darkness, we realize it, and now we want to return to a higher time when we live a dharmic life, and we have so much help from masters and avatars who have come here and they keep coming, etc. So to help us. And so my contribution is really that I would like to remind people that the reason why we're suffering on the earth plane is really due to karma. And once we understand the karma, we make a shift in consciousness. And these are words that we hear all the time and have become a little bit trite. But just what I mean is that once we realize why we're suffering, the reasons for our suffering, and we acquire more awareness, then the suffering disappears. And I will show you with my case studies how this works and why, just by pointing out even that there is a dosha in that nakshatra, that person will make a change in the positive way. So I'm very happy to be here to do that. And so we already know we're suffering, right? So to be able to have a physical body, we need to have some karma. That's the teaching of the Tamil Siddhas and my guru. And even avatars had to have some karma to come here. For example, Lord Rama, was here because Lord Vishnu had received a curse from Maharishi Bhrigu because, as you remember from the Ramayana, from reading the Ramayana, Lord Vishnu had killed Bhrigu's wife. So that karma keeps bringing us back until we are blessed with liberation, with moksha. And so understanding our karma is also favorable and helpful on our way to liberation. That's my understanding. And of course, Lord Krishna also was here and he was blemish free, he was sin free, but also he had to go through some tribulations, but he was always victorious. And I know that Umarani ji and Giranjan Babuji are now in Kurukshetra, with a wonderful place to be. So some divine gurus, not all gurus, of course, but some divine gurus, some special gurus come here and they are avatars, even though they just look like teachers. That's my understanding. But some siddhas that are disguised as scholars and they're helping humanity, but they keep very secluded at the same time. And so they need to pick up some random karma to be able to stay in the body. All right, so God gives us many opportunities to eliminate, or at least mitigate rather than eliminate, our bad karma in each lifetime. So we want to make the very best of each lifetime. And we all know what it is like to suffer and to get stuck in situations when the patterns keep repeating. There are patterns and we keep going through the same suffering and the same situations over and over again. And we have seen that in relationships. Some people attract always the same kind of partners who bring them suffering, or they have a financial problem, and no matter what they try, they get stuck and they're not able to get out of that pattern. So DNA astrology answers these questions. What's the purpose of my life? Why did I come here? Right. And also, what happened in my past lives? What is it that I tried to achieve and I didn't achieve? Because that desire keeps bringing us back in the form of karma. And which karmic imprints or parabdha karma am I experiencing in this life? So pretty much DNA astrology focuses on that kind of karma that we have for this lifetime. It's that from the bigger karma, the sanchita karma. We are going to analyze the prarabdha karma we are supposed to go through in this lifetime. And so once we remove those imprints, we remove emotional blockages and that are sabotaging our happiness and peace of mind. So we can live a more dharmic life and also, of course, more successful and joyful. So every gene, according to DNA astrology, carries a karmic pattern from our past and our family's past. And of course, ancestors also had the same. So when we incarnate in this group of souls, and then we all pretty much carry similar patterns. And my guru, my teacher, whose name is Dattatreya Shiva Baba, and then in the West is known as Dr. Pillai, is a scholar. And he talks about this in a very easy way to understand. In my case, it was easier for me to grasp this difficult concept, which is soul genetics. So in other words, we not only do we inherit the biological genes from our ancestors, we also inherited their soul patterns, their soul genes. And this is where DNA astrology is usefulness, because once we understand, again, we make the shift in consciousness, we raise our awareness, and from then we're more able to reduce suffering. So the whole point of DNA astrology is to reduce suffering or eliminate it altogether once we're blessed and we receive. It really is an intervention of God in a way. So when you have good karma, you come across certain teachings and you find the teacher when you're ready, right? When the student is ready, everybody knows this, then the teacher arrives. And the other thing that is important to know is that this, I received also all the levels, including the advanced certification in DNA astrology. And from Dr. Ram Kumar from Astroved. Astroved is an astrology portal that my guru, Dr. Pillai, founded many years ago. I think 20 years ago. All right, so we're not predicting the future with DNA astrology. That's important to remember. And we're really using it to identify bad karma and also the good karma, because conversely, we look at the planets that are not carrying dosha. And so according to DNA astrology, the karma is in the nakshatras. So it's the nakshatras that show which dosha our soul genes are carrying. And so let me tell you a little bit how it works. I hope we're doing okay with time. And so all these nakshatras, the 27 nakshatras, not 28, the 27 nakshatras carry dosha of planets. And all the planets give a dosha to these nakshatras. So we'll see which is which. And the only planet that doesn't give dosha is Ketu. However, according to research, Ketu gives the sun dosha. So there's no such a thing as a nakshatra that doesn't carry a dosha. They all do, all 27. So don't get scared. I'm reading quickly here. Ashvini, Aslesha, Nurada, Purva, Bhadrapada, the sun, Bharani, Magha, Jyeshta, Uttara Bhadrapada, the moon, Kritika, Purva Palguni, Mula, Revati, Mars, Rohini, Uttara Palguni, Purvashada, Mercury, Mrigashira, or Mrigashirsha, probably, Hasta, Uttarashada, Jupiter, Artra, Chitra, Shravana, Venus, Punarvasu, Swati, and Dhanishta, Saturn, Pushya, Vishaka, and Shatabisha, Rahu. So we're not talking about Ketu because we said the other Ketu nakshatras have the sun dosha. So So saints and gurus already know the divine design, and they can see our karma from past, present, and future, and they can help us. And DNA astrology gives you the easy upayas, so the astrological and spiritual remedies, and also the advice of the astrologer. So the astrologer has a sacred role, right? In Vedic astrology, we already know that the Vedic astrologer is not a mundane reader. I have respect for any methodology, including tarot cards, but there's another layer that it's added through to Jyotish, the science of light. So shining light on the suffering, the karma that needs to be eliminated, and how to strengthen, of course, the good karma. So let's see a little bit how. Oops. Sorry, let me go to slide presentation. 1 second. All right. So we said that when the moon, the ascendant of the ascendant lord, is in one of those nakshatras, it has the equivalent karma, a dosha. So let me see how we can start using some case studies, because I see that we are ahead in time. Okay, so another thing I like to say, I cannot give you the whole system, right? So it's the same story in every presentation, that we give a little appetizer of the whole restaurant. And don't have the whole menu. But what I like to say also, not only do the nakshatras carry dosha, but also the signs, ascendant signs carry dosha. Not all the ascendant signs, rather the mula trikona signs. So if a sign of the ascendant is a mula trikona of a planet, then in that case, also there's dosha. So it's not a punishment, it's just like different work we need to do in this life to grow and to become more aware and to evolve. So Aries, mula trikona of Mars, carries Jupiter dosha. Taurus, mula trikona of the Moon, carries Jupiter dosha. Leo, mula trikona of the Sun, carries Jupiter dosha. Virgo, mula trikona of both Mercury and Rahu, according to DNA astrology, carries Saturn and Moondoshas. So 2 doshas for Virgo. Again, I don't believe it's a punishment. All the Virgo people I know are super intelligent, and they have some tough work sometimes because they're very intellectual, very intelligent, and they notice more things than other people. Libra, mula trikona of Venus as Moondosha. Aquarius, mula trikona of Saturn, carries the Mars dosha, and Pisces, finally, mula trikona of Ketu, Sun dosha. So the dosha planets are like bigger files, we call them, that store karmic memory. Let's look at the Sun dosha. So I've chosen 4 planets because we cannot analyze all the nakshatras and all the doshas, but I've chosen the luminaries, Sun and Moon, because my question was, let's see how the Sun, the soul, and the light, the intelligence in the individual, right, the confidence, the capacities, the leadership, etc. How does the Sun dosha affect these nakshatras? So the nakshatras of the Sun dosha are again Ashvini, Aslesha, Anuradha, and Purva Bhadrapada. So if your moon ascendant or ascendant lord is in one of those nakshatras, then you have Sun dosha. Let's see the effects. Difficult relationship with the father. The person will receive fewer benefits from the father. So maybe there will not be any inheritance, or it will be reduced to share with other people. That's what I've seen also in my case studies. There is polygamy in the family. Please test this, don't be offended. I hope I don't offend anyone. But in past lives, there's been some imprint from an ancestor or from the self. Okay, so there's polygamy in the family, strong ego will result. So these nakshatras carry a strong ego, which can be helpful in the world to function. However, it may delay success. So humility and, more gentleness. Actually, the Anuradha people I know are very gentle And Ashwini are strong people. They are leader. They want to be leaders, so that carries a strong ego. And so I don't want to say everyone has these traits. Please understand that not everything will be present, but there is a risk. Yes. So there's cunningness. To succeed, the person will try anything. Low vitality, because the sun is the karaka of vitality. So in this case, it would be less vitality. Loses some gold objects, because sun again is one of the karakas of gold. So the person will lose the gold because it will be unfocused on these things, will be overspending, excuse me, will leave the native land and place, which actually brings, so on the bright side, people with Sandosha are successful away from their birthplace. And they're over concerned with what other people think. Of course, there's a lot of self-esteem, so that is a concern, like what are others thinking, right? So eye ailment, joint pain, prone to sunburn, etc. So the father at a younger age will be wealthy and then later will lose, or the father will be present at a younger age and then disappear later. So please test again every possibility. So the past life deeds that may have caused this are forcing a woman to become pregnant, causing pain to family through infidelity, so cheating on partners, abandoning the spouse and children, causing pain and loss to the father of another family, and being dishonest with the master or boss, stealing gold, etc. Okay, so let's look, and I wish I could show you these slides, because I have the case studies with the chart, birth chart. Let me see for a second if I can see Girish, if he has received the file. Not yet. All right. Please bear with me as I read these birth data. You can write them down. So it's a female born on January 8th, 1975 at 3:35 a.m. in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So I changed the minor things because I don't want, so there's privacy issues, so I don't want this person to be recognized, but the date, the day and the location are similar, so the birth details are correct. So she's always had misunderstanding with her father, because he's a good father, but he's very strict. The father was a powerful, wealthy man, but now lives a middle-class lifestyle and he feels frustrated. So these are all effects of Sandosha. She grew up in a well-to-do family, but now she has to work very hard to maintain a good income. She's lost her business and now she's planning to build a new one. And she wants to move away from her birthplace. And she has already lived in another state for several years, and she was successful there. So that proves also that point that by moving away from the place where you were born, you'll be more successful if you have Sandosha. She's easily sunburned and dehydrated. She, her mother, her sister, and grandmother all have eye problems. So the next case study is a woman born October 18th, 1967 at 8:50 a.m. in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Sorry, maybe Girish. Hello? Yes. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, thank you. Bye. All right, so it looks like the file is being downloaded. So hopefully you'll be able to see the case studies, because some are more complex. All right, so this woman has the moon in Ashvini. The previous case study, I don't know if I mentioned it, the moon is an Anuradha. Anuradha, if you haven't had a chance to build a chart, if you're doing that work. And this woman, this lady has the moon in Ashvini. Her father had an extramarital affair, and her mother suffered very much throughout her life, as far as she remembers. The mother never recovered from that pain, and they finally got divorced. So the father divorced the mother. After his new marriage, her wealthy father had to share his property, so his wealth was reduced because he had two families to support, so the new wife and children. She has lower energy levels, and she has a good relationship, she thinks, with her father, but he's always been distant, living in another place, house, and away from her. So she's not has not lived with her father in her for long. All right. So one important point I'd like to highlight: DNA astrology does not deny the Vedic chart, right? The birth chart or the divisional chart. So that's all okay. That's all. It's actually an added tool that you can use, and not a replacement of a Vedic reading. So please, nothing has changed, except we're using an extra tool, if you will. Okay. So let's look at the remedies for sun dosha. This is very important because I don't believe in suffering. Also, my spiritual teacher says there's no need to suffer if you do the right thing, right? So take care of that suffering, because even evolution, even dharma is affected by deep sorrow, that if we cannot overcome it, then we cannot even pray, we cannot even meditate. It's very important to do something about that suffering. So, and also it's more compassionate, right? As Vedic astrologers, we always want to be compassionate and not judgmental. That's the whole point of our work: shining light and not judge. Okay, so spiritual remedies will be worshipping Lord Shiva on Sundays, Sunday, of course, chanting Om Namah Shivaya daily or on Sundays at least. Career remedies: working for the government is a good way to remove sandosha. Accepting a higher position in your job, even though it's very difficult and you're not sure how to do it, it's also another remedy. Don't badmouth your boss or authority figures. It's going to backfire. It's better to change job. Okay. Choosing one of the names of God, the sun, for your business is also a great remedy. So if you're starting your business, or if you already have a business, then the name should be Surya, Aditya. Oops. Ready? Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. So I'm just going to quickly read the other charity remedies. So I'll close my presentation and Girish will show us the slides. All right. Thank you, Girish. So choosing the name of the sun, any name of the sun, and adding it to your business name, so to your brand, would be a great remedy. So in India, it's easy because, Aditya, Bhaskara, these names are common. In the West, you can choose, I believe, rising sun, sunny days, or solar plus, anything related to the sun. All right, so for charity, help poor people to get eye surgery, so pay for their eye surgery, donations of groceries, wheat to the poor, help family members to repay their loans. Okay, so I'm going to leave my presentation here and just watch. Okay, so please, next slide. Girish? Can you please continue with the slides? I saw that it was in. So we're going now to Moondosha, basically. Are you able to hear me? Probably not. Oh dear. You are. Oh, thank you. So I don't see the slide. So let's please go to Moondosha. All right. So Moondosha is Bharani, Magha, Jyeshta, and Uttara Bhadrapada. If the moon or ascendant lord is placed in these nakshatras, you know you have Moondosha. So let's see what that means. Okay, the relationship with the mother is usually good, and the mother has good intentions for her children, right? 99.9% of mothers are like that. However, when the person will follow the mother's advice, there will be huge problems, or at least, like significant problems. And we'll see from case studies that's true. Also, the person with Moondosha will enjoy luxury at a younger age, but later experience financial problems and health issues, usually middle age. There will be paranormal activities. On the bright side, if the person is spiritual, these can become positive spiritual experiences. And the moon, of course, is the mind principle. And so when there are money problems, the person will lose their peace. They will lose their peace of mind, and there may be an instability, right? Relationship problems, there may be some white lies, like the moon, to embellish truth and to also to avoid unpleasantness in life. They will not respect their mother. Okay, they will not be all present, but many of these will be present. They'll be very sentimental and excessively so, and that can cause problems because they will get stuck in bad situations or a relationship that is not beneficial to them. And then there will be a tendency to learn multiple languages on the bright side. And the other thing that I've noticed in Moondosha, the person will share their properties with their children when they're old, but earlier in life. But the children may cause suffering later, so they may not necessarily take care of the mother. That's not nice, but that's how it is. Okay, it's not guaranteed. Please test this and ask your client if you're doing a reading or in your own chart. So let's not be fatalistic about this, but I've seen that it's true. Okay, so there will be water retention. There may be a tendency to retain water in the legs and in the body. There may be a problem with the lungs at some point in life, eye problems. On the bright side, the people with Moondosha are great cooks. They can cook very well. The food is delicious, and they can even make a lot of money with, I don't know if that's possible with restaurants, but yes, so they can be successful if they open a restaurant or a food business. Okay, Moondosha, past life deeds, right? It would be somewhere, maybe in ancestors, etc. They mistreated their mother. They guided people to wrongdoing. They poisoned a woman. There was also leading a woman to prostitution. Excuse my language, but that's what I'm reading and what I learned. They caused harm to mentally disabled people. So, of course, the moon is the mind principle, right? So, mental disability. The person with mental disability was harmed by person in a past life. So, Moondosha, I hope I can see this case study. Are we able to? Let me see if I can read that in chat. Yes, excellent. All right, so a female, this lady was advised by her mother. Her mother told her to get married at 16. She followed her mother's advice, and from that moment on, her life became very sorrowful. She suffered a lot. And I forget what happened. So the problems were with the marriage, lots of money problems, etc. So, and she was born in a well-to-do family, so she wasn't used to poverty, but she faced really serious financial problems. She became very depressed because of that and suicidal. Also, there was some abuse, I think, and she survived. And she herself admitted, I always lie. I don't never say the truth, and I don't like to say, unpleasant things. All right, so she experienced paranormal activity, and so they weren't good spiritual experiences for her. She was very frightened, and she never even wanted to listen to her intuition. Afterwards, she was very scared. Okay, and again, she became wealthy and then lost all her money by sharing it with her children. Her children never took care of her financially, so she was left with some nice things, but not really. Her wealth was gone, and she also had to limit herself, like for medical expenses and all these things, which was tragic. She had lung problems and swelling in the legs. All right, so next, let's see the remedies, because it's getting late. So I will skip a few. So I'm not, you can take a screenshot if you like. Again, this is just an experience of DNA astrology, the methodology, but not the entire system. All right, so we praying to Lord Venkateshwara for wealth on Mondays, praying to Goddess Durga on Mondays, of course, going to special temples like river goddesses temples like Kaveri, Ganga on Mondays is very beneficial. There's another temple in Tamil Nadu called Tiruvenkadu temple, and pray to Lord Chandra, moon god, of course, and praying to Goddess Annapurna is also a remedy. And she's of course, the form of the goddess Parvati, who is the nourishment and food goddess. Okay, then chanting Om Namo Narayanaya on Mondays. So the reclining form of Vishnu is beneficial for people with Moondosha. Counseling as career, consulting, offering motivation to others, being a psychologist or helping people through psychology is very helpful. And also charity remedies, donate rice, donate, save rainwater, and donate water to people who live in areas where there's no water or less water, like in Africa or some areas of Asia. So Jupiter dosha, Mriga Sirsha, Hasta and Uttarashada have Jupiter dosha. So again, moon, ascendant or ascendant lord must be placed in that. Also remember that Aries ascendant, Taurus ascendant, and Leo ascendant, all three carry Jupiter dosha. The effects are delays in conceiving children, so like fertility problems, and worries about children. If not, there will be financial problems. So one or the other will be there. And people with Jupiter dosha don't use their words very wisely. So they utter things that they pay later. They suffer a lot because of what they say. So it's always good to be very mindful of speech, etc. They don't keep secrets. They have a problem with that. There's problems with, they don't really believe in following the law in general, okay? Not always, please understand it's not set in stone, but wisdom needs some work. They need to strengthen their wisdom and work on that. And they should not rely on untrustworthy people because they tend to choose the wrong people and they trust the wrong people. Okay, so ailments can be autism, infected tonsils, liver disease and tumor, high cholesterol, etc. All right, so Jupiter next, please. I don't know if I'm not remembering to tell Girish. Thank you so much. Okay. Perfect. Okay, they may have ill-treated children. They insulted the teachers and cheated on people in money matters, and so in financial cheating, etc. They stole money and they broke the law. So of course they were disloyal. Jupiter dosha. This is a celebrity, but I cannot give more details. So he lost. You can take a screenshot of the birth chart. He lost a child in an accident. The child fell from a building. So that was tragic. And had troubles with the law because he didn't pay his ex-wife alimony. Then he had a court battle because he wanted to keep the child, but another child from another relationship, and then couldn't So he was always in and out of court. He had a lawsuit because he cheated his, supposedly, allegedly, he cheated his business partner, and he overdosed on tranquilizers. I think they're called barbiturates. I don't even know how to say that word. And had liver ailment, most likely because that's what he had a serious problem after that. All right, so let's talk about the remedies. It's always good to look at the brighter side. The spiritual remedies are worshipping Lord Muruga Tiruchendur. It's a wonderful temple. I would go regardless whether you have Jupiter dosha. I've been there many times with my guru. It's a very powerful vortex, spiritual vortex. And you heal from so many things. You'll be surprised about the miracles that you receive in this temple. I am not affiliated, so I'm just telling you my experience. So Tiruchendur Muruga Temple was in Tamil Nadu, India. For those who are not from India, I'm sorry. I'm from Italy, by the way, but I feel that India is my spiritual mother. Worshipping Lord Dakshinamurti at Alangudi, another temple in Tamil Nadu. And donation remedies will be give money to children, charities, of course, and give school items, like materials for children, and help the teachers. Careers, working in a bank, because Jupiter is the Karaka of banks. You can be a child specialist, a pediatrician, or it's good to help as a child speech therapist, because that will teach to be mindful about words that are used so they don't get in trouble. And working as a teacher or a yoga, I like the word yoga teacher rather than instructor. I don't know why I typed that. Okay. So, and priest. Being a priest also is a remedy for Jupiter dosha. Okay. So Venus dosha, Ardha, Chitra, and Shravana suffer from Venus dosha. Again, not all defects will be present. Please remember to not to tell people, oh, you're going to have a bad marriage, or if you're an astrologer, if you want to study that. By the way, an insert, I do teach DNA astrology, and I'll be happy if you contact me. I don't know if we have shared. My website is streamlab, one word.com, and you can email info@streamlab.com, and I'll be happy to help you. So Venus dosha, unhappiness in marriage and relationships, quarrels, between the partners. They don't respect the elders very much. They wear unclean clothes. And I want to tell a funny case study. I had a client who took a course with me, and so I knew his life quite a bit. And I told him, is it true that there are problems in married life? And he said, yes. And he said, actually, I don't like my wife very much, so I have a lover and I have a mistress. And I said, okay. And I also don't like her very much. I want to leave her. So he had quite a few issues. I'm not judging, I'm just saying caused him a lot of problems. Okay, so he was quarreling with both of them. And I said to him, do you make sure in the morning as a remedy to always shower as soon as you wake up and then wear clean clothes? I said, oh, I always wear clean clothes, but sometimes I shower later because I work from home, and so basically he didn't shower in the morning, and I said, okay, I'll do that later. He said, but I always change my shirt. And I said, actually, it would be better to change all the garments. And he said, well, but you don't wash your jeans every day. You don't change them every day. He said, I keep them for 2 weeks. And I said, no, actually nobody does that as far as I know. My recommendation is actually to wear clean clothes every day. So I'm giggling, but it can happen. So that lack of awareness of things we do that we think they're normal, sometimes they're caused by these doshas. And just becoming aware of it and making a small change will remove a lot of problems. Also psychologically, I don't think it's good, to wear old clothes from the day before, etc. It does not support our energy, etc. So on the subtle level too, and it's not hygienic, obviously. Okay, so let's go back to a few more of these. Again, you can take a screenshot for the other effects. When they're wealthy, they don't have time to enjoy their wealth, or they think it's not enough. They're always preoccupied with money, and of course, they're very preoccupied with sex, and that also causes lots of problems. And they have bad relationship with mother-in-law, younger sister, or an aunt. And not all these will be present. Again, I'm not tired of repeating because I cannot overemphasize this. Don't expect all those to be present, but some will definitely be, etc. So also they love cosmetic surgery because they're always concerned with their appearance. Okay. Venus dosha, the ailments will be diabetes, eye ailments. There is a scar on the face that I've seen, kidney problems, and sexually transmitted diseases. So that's a concern. Okay. The past life deeds may have been ill-treating the spouse, spending money without respecting money, and just wasting it, cheating on the spouse, and cheating on a romantic partner. So Venus dosha case study, Oscar Wilde. He was a very famous writer. Many of you have heard of him or read his writings. So very gifted man, very unhappy marriage. Very preoccupied with relationships, sex, etc., including homosexual relationships. He went to jail because at that time it was illegal to have relationships with same sex person. And then he was bankrupt in the mid-40s, so the money problems were there. He died of meningitis, which is due to sexually transmitted disease in his case. Okay, so he had a cruel opinion. He disrespected his wife. He called her heavy, shapeless, and deformed. And here, of course, I'm shocked because she had changed, her body had changed just because she had his children. So their children were born. So he really didn't like his wife. And also, he appeared to be good looking in his public image. If you see his photos, also, he was dressed like a dandy. However, he was considered ugly because he didn't have a scar on his face, as you have seen with Venus dosha, but his teeth were very bad. They were huge and decayed, I read. And so that was the reason why he was not considered that good looking man. Okay. Let's move on to the next. So I picked this case study because it shows both Venus and Jupiter dosha effects. And his name was Francois Truffaut, a famous movie director, French movie director. And his moon is in Shravana, so there's Venus dosha, and both ascendant and ascendant lord are in Uttarashada. Okay. So it's important to remember Capricorn doesn't have dosha, so only the Mula Trikona signs, right? So Gemini, Cancer, Scorpio, and Capricorn don't have ascendant sign dosha. Okay, so in his case, in Francois Truffaut, he made many enemies because he loved to criticize classical filmmaking and all the classics of French cinematography. He criticized everybody and directors, actors, everybody involved in the movies. He despised them. And also he expressed, so Jupiter dosha expressed his opinions in such an cussing and lots of inappropriate language that the editors were always editing him and covering up his language and translating it into a different language that was more appropriate for media. Okay, so he had multiple love affairs, Venus dosha, divorce Venus dosha, a child from extramarital affair, so also Jupiter dosha, because it's a concern always to have an extra child that comes that in a out of wedlock, it can be a problem. Also, a remedy for Venus dosha is working in the film industry, and this fits perfectly. He died of brain tumor, so Jupiter dosha, brain karaka, is Jupiter. Jupiter Karaka is brain, and tumor also in dosha, Jupiter dosha. Okay, so he also another aspect of Jupiter dosha. Usually people who don't believe in God, don't believe in anything higher than themselves, so usually have this Jupiter dosha in their birth chart. Again, please test it, but I've seen it over and over. Okay, so in this chart, I put a note to remember that I noticed that Jupiter seems to be in Cancer, so a good placement. Well, of course, it depends on the birth chart. And in this chart, it's very weak. It's the weakest planet in Shadbala. And Venus, that gave him, luck with the ladies and money and fame, is the strongest planet in Shadbala. So you will verify those doshas also in the birth chart. You will be able to see it also by just doing a Vedic astrology reading, but you will not be able to identify all the reasons for his suffering, because I'm sure that many of the things he decided to do and say caused him troubles. Okay. So the remedies for Venus dosha are worshipping Goddess Mahalakshmi, of course, on the day of Venus, Fridays, worshipping Bala or Kanyakumari, worshipping Narayana, again, the reclining form of Vishnu, donating money for marriage of poor women, and working in the film industry as a career is also very beneficial. As a beautician also is, and working in the industries. Venus is the Karaka fashion industry and textile industry. All right, this is the most beautiful part of DNA astrology to me, because the doshas are associated with the nakshatras, and the nakshatras are associated with deities, right? The devas, the shining beings, and they can help us a lot. So creating a personal relationship with a divine being is very, very helpful and removes dosha. So it's important to remember that the nakshatras don't always have, in the DNA astrology, just the one archetype, the one deities, that overlord. They have more in DNA astrology. I've not listed them all because there are so many, but just listed a few. Ashwini, Saraswati, and Ashwini Kumars. Ashwini Kumars is in classical Vedic astrology, so we know that, but also Saraswati would be very helpful to Ashwini people to pray to Saraswati. Bharani, Durga, Goddess Kali, and Rahu. Rahu was born in Bharani, that's why it's associated with Bharani. Kritika, Agnidev, the seven virgin goddesses, Rohini, Krishna and Brahma. Mrigashira is moon. Rudra, so the moon god, basically, they should worship. Ardra, Shiva Nataraj, the dancing form of Shiva. Rudra, also the fierce form of Shiva. Punarvasu, Lord Rama. Always good to worship Lord Rama for Punarvasu. Pushya, Jupiter, so it's already ruled by Brihaspati, right? We know. So worshipping Jupiter, Brihaspati, Vashishta, Vali, and Devasena, the wives also of Lord Muruga. Aslesha, Adishesh, so is the snake, the divine snake of Vishnu. Vasuhi, another snake god, and Naga, and Yudhishthir. Yudhishthir is the the eldest of the Pandavas in the Mahabharata, and is the eldest brother and king of Arjun. Lakshman also, and Balarama. So Lakshman is the brother of Rama and Balarama. So you can see that both in the Ramayana, these beings. You can find a lot of information in the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. So we have also Maga. Okay, so Venus supposedly was born in Magas, according to DNA astrology. So you can worship Lord Venus if you are a Maga moon, ascendant or ascendant Lord. Venus or Shukacharya, of course. And Arjun also is associated with Maga. So righteousness, being selfless, being courageous, all those qualities are very helpful to Maga people. Purva Palguni, it's Parvati. So goddess Parvati was born in Purva Palguni, according to DNA astrology, and she has Mars dosha for that. So Meenakshi also. Uttara Palguni, Ayappa Sita. So we can imagine, because sometimes she did have quarrels with Lord Shiva, right? Goddess Parvati. Always, like she was innocent, but they had a few things, like when she covered the eyes of Lord Shiva and the world went dark, etc. So those things, that's why she has Mars dosha, because Shiva was upset. Okay, so Uttara Palguni, Ayappa, and Sita. Hasta Suryadev and Chitra Vishvakarma. That's the classical one we always tell, that is associated with Chitra, but also goddess Kamakshi. All right, I love this section again. This is my favorite. And now there are other nakshatras here, so I'll try to skip otherwise. How are we with time? Let's see. Sorry, one sec. How are we with time? Can somebody please type how we are doing with the time? Do I have a 2 or 3 more minutes? Thank you. All right. So we're wrapping it up about Swati is Lakshmi and Vayu, Vishaka Muruga, Anuradha. In addition to the other deities, also worship Ketu. Jyeshta, Indra, and the beautiful Apsaras, the dancers, the divine dancers, celestial dancers. Mula is Hanuman, Purvashada, Varuna, Indrajit, Bali, a lot of them. And then Uttarashada, Ganesha and Mars, Shravana, Vibhishan. Vibhishan is the good guy, the brother of Ravana, but he was a very good person, and he worshipped Lord Rama and Vishnu. Okay, Dhanishta is Mercury. Mercury was born in Dhanishta and carries the Saturn dosha. Indrani is also the wife of Indra. Shatabisha is Lord Yama. You would have expected that to be associated with Bharani, but apparently no. But of course, Bharani is associated with Lord Yama. And Shatabisha is also Chitragupta, the divine being who keeps the score on the Kashik record. Kala Bhairava is the form of Shiva who keeps time and creates time for various galaxies, various planes of existence. And Purva Bhadrapada is Karna, one of the half-brothers of the Pandavas, and Kubera, Kumbhakarna, he was the giant brother of Ravana, and Dashrata, the father of Rama, and Dattatreya, Shiva Baba, my guru. Okay, Uttara Bhadrapada is Kamadino, so that's surprising. Kamadino is the wish-fulfilling cow, and also Balaji, the form of Vishnu who brings a lot of wealth. Revati is Saturn, because Saturn was born in Revati, and Abhimanyu, the son of Arjuna. All right, so last slide, I think, right? One more point I would like to share with you today about the interesting role of Rahu. I'm not saying Rahu is the best planet, okay? It's not a benefic by any means. It's still Rahu, brings confusion, brings excessive desire, frustration, and acts like Saturn. Okay, so nothing has changed there. But I like to say that Rahu shows the purpose of life according to DNA astrology. I know this is controversial, so please test it at least on 50 charts, per each of them, per each principle, and then decide if it works for you. I find it fits to a T for each person I've talked to ever since I studied this method. Okay, Rahu in the first house. They usually focus on the self because they were unsuccessful in their previous life, and usually they've been sick. So we cannot verify that, but definitely there is an incredible focus on the self, incredible desire to succeed and be perfect. Okay, then Rahu in the second house. So the placement of Rahu shows a lot about past life and the purpose of this life, or at least the reason, not that should be the purpose, the reason why that person was reincarnated in this life and what they are trying to achieve. That doesn't mean it's the very best thing for them. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that's where their focus is. Rahu in the second house, they were poor in a past life and now they want prosperity. Rahu in the third, unfulfilled desires creatively, and also now they want to achieve success in everything. Rahu in the fourth, they want to be the best in education and also get a lot of wealth, assets, because they were not there in past lives. They didn't have lands and buildings. Rahu in the fifth is tricky because Rahu here that gives spiritual pursuits, but they have a frustrated love life and unfulfilled desires in artistic fields. Okay, so spiritual pursuits will be there, but sometimes it's tricky. Okay, Rahu in the sixth house, purpose of this life is defeating enemies, and probably they suffered a lot from enemies in past lives, and now also they want to take care of the health, and sometimes they need to. Okay, Rahu in the seventh house, the purpose is of course relationship, excess, a lot of desire of stable relationship, a lasting relationship, and they want to succeed in their business because business partners are also seventh house related. And Rahu in the eighth house, they want to have longevity because they probably died young in past lives. Rahu in the ninth, purpose is following Dharma in every situation, and they want to build temples. Rahu in the 10th house, purpose is to be a very good professional, gain fame and recognition in their profession as doctors, engineers, etc. Rahu in the 11th, they want to enjoy life to the max, and also they want wealth. They were probably frustrated in these aspects in their past lives. Rahu in the 12th house, the purpose is liberation or moksha. So they want salvation. So I'll show you the last case study. I love this case study because it really fits Rahu in the fifth house and also other doshas. This is Steve Jobs. Everybody knows him. Steve Jobs was the creator of Apple, and of course very successful. And he loved the film industry. This I didn't know. I found out in research. So that shows Rahu in the fifth house, which wants to be famous in films or in the artistic field. He had an Indian guru. Many of you probably know that he loved Paramahansa Yogananda. Wanted everybody to read autobiography of a yogi. So that shows Rahu in the fifth house, and also the Moondosha, because they usually convert to other religions. Moondosha, he did not respect his biological mother and called her an egg bank. But he was upset with his biological mother because the biological parents put him up for adoption. They didn't take care of him. So the mother also was obsessed with education, so kept looking for better families for him that were educated, etc., because they were educated, and delayed his adoption. And then once he had to find another set of parents because the second set of parents, although educated, they dumped him. They abandoned him. So he had a lot of suffering because of that mother's advice and obsession with her education. Okay, so ascendant in Uttara Palguni is Mercury Dosha. I haven't talked about Mercury Dosha, but one of the things that Mercury Dosha can bring is problems with pancreas. There's a broken education. Also interesting, another aspect of Mercury Dosha is that when they have a break in education, they make a lot of money in business, and this is definitely the case. He quit college, and then he made a lot of money and had a lot of success. Okay, the ascendant lord, that's Rahu Dosha, enormous wealth. He has Rahu Dosha. So that means enormous wealth in old age, and sometimes not really like when 90s and 100, more like older age, like in the middle age onwards, they will have a lot of money. And he was also very dissatisfied with his parents because that's Rahu Dosha, they didn't fulfill his wish. He wanted to stay with his parents and they left him. They put him up for adoption and he had cancer. That's also Rahu Dosha. All right, so this concludes the presentation. And now if we have some more time, I'd like to open it to questions.
Thank you, Miss Lalitha ji, for the insightful class. Our audience definitely appreciated it. Yes, we will now move on to the question and answer session. The questions will come up on the screen. You can kindly read it out loud for the benefit of everyone and then answer them.
Okay. I don't see a question. Hopefully I'm not missing. Okay, ma'am, can you guide on knowing how Venus, water, and Mars, fire, Gandanta dosha, give the results in Taurus sign and both planets are in Rohini? Okay, so there are different doshas the planet combinations and conjunctions can bring, right? But we're not focusing on that because that's an aspect of Vedic astrology and I don't want to confuse the viewers. So as a Venus doshas, we have already talked about it, and Mars dosha will bring problems with Mars. In DNA astrology, that would mean, of course, quarreling a lot. They have to control their temper, otherwise they may end up in a jail or other problems. There may be amputation of a limb. So serious things that the person with Mars dosha has to take care. But I don't want to comment on Gandanta dosha. All right. Mom, could you please let know of the guru or Maharishi who wrote DNA astrology? That's a beautiful question, yeah. Astrology principles like Brihat Parashara or Shastra by Maharishi Parashar, yes. And from which sources we can learn the DNA astrology? Absolutely, that's a great question, thank you. And it's unclear. There was a holy man, the original teacher started to teach it, said that he received it from a siddha, from a holy man in South India, if I remember well. And then my teacher, Dr. Ramkumar, learned this system from him. And according to his research, this system stems from Bhrigu, from Lord Maharishi Bhrigu. So that's his research. I've not looked into that research, but I trust that he did a good job because he's an excellent astrologer. That it was picked by my guru, Dattatreya Shiva Baba, Dr. Pillai. And so you can learn from me if you like, or you can go to AstroVed. I teach DNA astrology as one of my courses. And again, my email, info@shrimlab.com. And you can find me that way, or you can maybe email the astrological magazine and they'll put you in touch with me. Thank you. Indian from South. I love South India too, yeah. Ma'am, can you guide Biraj, sorry. Ma'am, can you guide on knowing how Venus, oh, this is the same, right? No, we have already answered this. Rajeshwar Rao says, Guru Namaha. Gurubhyo Namaha. If a malefic planet is placed with a nakshatra, whose nakshatra lord is a yoga karaka planet for that lagna, how the results predicted? All right, so again, I'm commenting only on, I can talk to you about the dasha though of the dosha planets. Malefic planet is placed with a nakshatra, whose nakshatra lord is a yoga karaka planet. All right, so that's one aspect of Vedic astrology. Again, this is only DNA astrology. We're not talking about the specific aspects on Lagna and Yoga Karaka. Usually, Yoga Karaka planets act well in a chart if they're not afflicted, etc. And this question, though, is very helpful, so I thank you, because it reminded me that I want to comment on the Dasha system. So we're not overlooking the Dasha system when we look at Dosha planets. We actually identify the good planets that way because, for example, somebody has the Moondosha or the Sun dosha, during the dasha period of those two planets, those planets, those dashas will be more significant and they may bring more problems or things that we need to take care of. And that means the other dashas will be more positive. So by default, we also identify the good dashas. I hope I answered your question somehow. What if dosha giving planet is ascendant lord? Yes, and or an exalted planet? Yes, of course. So if that's a good planet in your birth chart, it doesn't mean that you'll suffer a lot, but some of the moon dosha, some of the dosha giving planet will be there. So some effects will be there. So it's a mixture. So we're not denying the Vedic birth chart, and we are just again adding an extra tool for understanding the person deeply. So in a more profound way, we'll find out the karma and the remedies that are needed for that person. And yoga karaka planets, of course, they're very good, especially if they're exalted. That's wonderful. So you have some great yogas, and it helps. So it's always a balancing act to seeing what is causing dosha, and but at the same time seems to be giving good things in the. For example, Venus dosha, maybe that yoga karaka exalted planet is bringing wealth, but the person is not enjoying it because there is a dosha of Venus, and that the ascendant lord has the Venus dosha. So that's how I like to comment on that. Hopefully it helps. Right. All right. Anybody else?
Okay. So we will now end the Q&A session. Thank you again, Ms. Lalitha ji, for the excellent masterclass. On behalf of Raman and Rajeshwari Research Foundation, I thank you for the same. Now, I would like to take this opportunity to inform the audience that the next masterclass session is on Saturday, October 23rd, 2021. The class will be by Ms. Sarbani Rath and she will teach Chandra Gandanta. See you again there. Also, if you would like to stay informed about the activities of the foundation, we encourage you to visit our website www.rrrf.in or join our Telegram channel. Thank you so much.